It is ATL Day Ones with Jarvis and Tenitra. Welcome back. We want to thank you for rocking with us today on a two-win Tuesday. If you've been watching the entire show, you'll know exactly what I mean when I say that. So that means you watch all of our episodes on
Yeah.
Locked On Sports Atlanta. We got a lot of good content for you. We got a big old lineup. We got A to Z with Mark Zeno, Hitting Hard with John Chuckery, and of course, ourselves, who you love us because we know you love us. So go ahead and like us and subscribe to us. And you know, we are on all audio platforms and you
Yeah.
can download us wherever you get your podcast. Tanitra, this is for the culture. And for those who
Yeah.
don't know who that is, it is the intersection between sports and the culture. And the culture means whatever we want it to mean on that particular day. So there you go. All right. So now, first up, Denzel Washington, for some reason, was in the team hotel for the Miami Heat, and a video leaked out of him, just talking to him, talking to the guys, and Jimmy Butler was there, and he was just dropping some good jewels on them and dropping some good knowledge on them, just talking about how you got to be an example. And he even
Mhm.
gave an example of a guy who used to play Major League Baseball and how he even mocked him to the way the man walked.
Mhm,
That's just how
mhm.
deep it was to be able to see guys that look like him,
Yeah.
and he just talked about the importance of being an example. And
Mhm.
you know what, when you think about it, it just kind of speaks. I'm not surprised because when you
Mhm.
talk about Denzel, like this dude is just
The
he got to
GOAT.
be he got a dead body somewhere in off in the country somewhere because this dude just he just done so many great things. You never
Yeah.
heard really anything bad about him, and he just goes about his way, and
Mhm.
he's his son is following in his footsteps, and
Yeah.
in the acting world and everything. It kind of makes me think of like, man, that's why the Miami Heat doggone ran through the house because they got a nice little. Who else better to get a pep talk from than Denzel Washington himself?
Right. Okay, so now I was gonna go somewhere, so you all know we're not about to get to that second story because Jarvis just made me go two places. I want to say this.
That's the whole
Okay,
point, right? That's the
right,
whole.
right.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
so,
Let's
so,
do
so I got my
it.
one A, and then I got my one B, but they're both questions for you, or one is a comment and one is a question. So first, I want to start off with giving you your flowers because a couple of years
Oh Lord.
ago, I brought my nephews to Atlanta, and they usually come and visit me like once every summer. So hopefully they'll get here this summer. And one of the things I wanted them to do was come to the radio station. Was of course pre-COVID.
Right.
So
Yeah.
uh, I brought them to the radio station because we had so many positive black male role models that I just wanted them to see. And one particular day, I knew Jarvis was going to be working and I was going to be working at the same time. So I brought them in because I wanted them to see him in action. I wanted them to see him behind the microphone. I wanted them to see him running the show. Really wanted them to just talk to him for a few minutes because you never know what nugget someone may give you that could take you a long way. And I noticed a reverence that they had for him immediately. And I never told them about you. You were just
Mm-hmm.
someone that was introduced to him that day. So yeah, the things that you say, the way you carry yourself, it is important because it does resonate whether you know it or not. So even in that moment, I could see them just wide eyed, like listening to you in a way that they would never listen to me as a female, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that's what we saw with Denzel. It was like he had a captivated audience because
Yes.
they knew it was coming from a genuine place, and they knew it was
Yes.
coming from a place with someone who can back it up, someone who just a few weeks ago was able to at least smooth over the situation with Will Smith, both in front of the camera, meaning what he told him at the actual Academy Awards or the Oscars, and also that follow through and that follow up to say, okay, that's my version of damage control as a black male. Now, that's number one. But on a lighter note, another question that came to me is okay, we saw Denzel kind of in a clandestine space meet up with the Heat and give them that commentary that was help them to springboard even further into what they're doing successfully on the court, but also getting them to do what they can do in the community. My question to you is this: who,
Mm-hmm.
especially because we have all these star-studded games, right, for the Hawks where you just see any and everybody, but who from the ATL, if the Hawks ran into that person at their hotel, would be that dude or even that girl, but that person who would get them right and ready for tonight to get the second win in this series, and really just talk to them.
Wow. That is a really good question. So a couple of guys kind of popped in my head initially,
Okay.
and then as you kept going through your question, another guy popped in my head. So I'm gonna give you two, right?
Okay.
So I'm gonna start off with Andre 3000 because, and here's why: because the reference is automatically going to be there, right? Like
Absolutely.
when you think about Atlanta royalty,
Hmm.
Andre 3000 is right up there. He might be at the top, you
Yeah.
know. So because he is a guy who's soft spoken, he's not real big into the pomp and circumstance and all that stuff.
Hmm.
And that's kind of how Denzel is too. You know,
Yeah.
like Denzel, sometimes I think he forgets he's Denzel. And
Right.
he'll just, you know, it's just be walking up to people and talking to people and just kind of kicking it just like he's just a normal dude, which he
Hmm.
is
Yes.
when you put it into perspective. But,
Yes.
you know,
Yes.
he is a guy who's accomplished a lot, and like a lot of people respect what he's done, and the awards have come as such, you know, as they should.
Yes.
So, but yeah, so I think the first person, just from a reverence standpoint, who I know everybody will be sitting there like, okay, yes, uh-huh. And one of them might even slip like, yes, sir. Like, no, you don't gotta
Right.
call me sir. But, you know, I think he's a guy. And secondly, I started thinking about when you start talking about uh, get them riled up and get them going and putting on.
Hmm.
The first guy that came to mind was Ti. I think Ti is a guy that you know that he's a fan of all the Atlanta sports team, and he's just
Hmm.
always been a guy that just kind of his music just kind of speaks to like, yeah, I'm about to get going. Like whether it
Yes.
be motivational, whether it's straight up hardcore trap music, he talking
Hmm.
about his daily life as that person and doing those things, and it just gets you going, even if you're not even into those things. So
Yes.
I think Andre Three Stacks is my first one, and I definitely have to go with Tip as far as somebody that can kind of just get it popping, big
Yes.
things popping, right?
Yes. And then I'll go elder statesman style, because you always need that person, like you said, who you revere and you know that they have overcome some serious obstacles and yet they have persevered. So I thought about Andrew Young. Andrew Young
Ooh,
is
nice.
still with us at
Yes.
95 and still dropping jewels. I watched his celebration on air a couple of weeks ago, and I was like, that mind is still completely intact. He was
Indeed.
still dropping jewels. So I think about him coming through like that elder statesman and just dropping that knowledge. And also, like you said, giving them encouragement, maybe in his smoothed out sort of way, but giving them encouragement to just push forward and say, hey, despite all the odds that you have in front of you, you can certainly get this done in this game 5 can be your game 2, as in the W that Jarvis and I talked about earlier. And yes, there was one comment that you made about Denzel before we wrap up that I was like, cosign. He truly does not, just is so humble, because he really
Yeah.
doesn't know the
Yeah.
magnitude because I met him before, and
Mm.
literally we're standing outside of, and we talked about this earlier, after the play Fences. And so he came
Wow.
out and he met every last one of us and spoke to us like we were his people.
Yeah. That's
Yeah.
crazy.
Yeah.
That
And
is
so,
amazing.
right. So when you said that, I was like, I know it's a little bit off topic, but again, that's part of the reason he has the reverence that he does, because of what he's been able to do. Oh, and just for free, taking it old school. But how about Lenny Wilkins?
Nice.
How
Lenny,
about Lenny
old
Wilkins?
school with it.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
like Lenny. Yeah,
Yeah.
Lenny's one of those guys that you can just sit and listen to and him talk ball like all the time. Like
Yes.
I respect Lenny just from just being able to accomplish what he did, as a head coach, and and just being around and just being just a facilitator of the game,
Yes.
and teaching people and bringing them up in the professional sports. So
Indeed.
I just that's a solid too. I almost kind of like, can I redo mine? But I know we don't have time for that. But before we get out of here, I do want to mention this because like we talking
Yes.
about giving people flowers. Like I have to give J.R. Smith his flowers,
Oh,
because when
yes.
you talk about J.R. Smith, he's at North Carolina A&T playing golf. That is so lovely for me to say that. He has an academic award
Mm-hmm.
He earned an Academic Athlete of the Year, but as a matter of fact, because he had a 4.0 GPA.
Yes.
Like what else can you ask for? You know, because a lot of people kind of laugh when J.R. Smith talked about going into this venture and going to college
Mm-hmm.
and
Mm-hmm.
being a college athlete.
Right.
He never got a chance to do that actually. So,
Mm-hmm.
but yeah, for him to be able to go out there and take this thing seriously, and of course play a sport that he just picked up, and
Mm-hmm.
he absolutely loves playing. Of course, I just got to give him, man. I gotta give him his due. Like
Yeah.
I respect that. You talking about 36 years old going back to college, man? Like I can't do nothing but respect that, because I know for me, who's a few years older than that,
Mm-hmm.
I ain't going back to college, Jack. But yeah,
Right.
shout out to you, Jr. Yeah.
Yeah, shout out to him. Way to pivot, JR, because we know that there were some ups and downs, especially in his last few years of the league. But I love that this is now the story that is following him and the story that makes us want to root for him. So I can't wait to see what he does when he returns next semester to A&T and continues to show us his Aggie pride.
Indeed, indeed, indeed.
Anyway,
Yes.
we appreciate you guys. We are very, very proud to have this podcast going on, and we're proud that you guys continue to join us and choose us, ATL Day Ones, as your first option. But you know what? As your second option, make sure you choose Hitting Hard with John Chuckery. He brings it straight, no chaser. If you know Chuck, you know that to be the truth. And like we always say, check us out on any platform where you get your podcasts. Check out Chuck, and make sure you go to YouTube and check out everybody in the Locked On Sports Atlanta network on YouTube, following, subscribing, and liking us. So we will see you guys tomorrow. Hopefully, we will come back to you talking about two teams and two dubs. Take care.